Lust for Life, federal filmmakers, and audio analysis, plus this day in history with the Hays Code and our song of the day by Chick 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 on Your Morning Monarchy for March 31st. It's the end of the month, 2017, last day of March. I'm James Evan Pilato from MediaMonarchy.com, giving you your hour-long look at what's really going on in the news. And we are brought to you by you. A huge thanks to all our patrons, supporters, subscribers, donors, all of you. MediaMonarchy.com/support is the place to go to find the links to our Bitcoin address, our post office box. That's also where our PayPal address is. PayPal.me/MediaMonarchy is the quick way you can give us a little bit of that dirty zeros and ones and that fiat, like our buddy Dennis I. He regularly gives via PayPal. Maybe I shouldn't have grabbed that extra cup of coffee. But I need it. It's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. And thank God for Shannon B. and Stan W. They are our latest patrons at patreon.com/MediaMonarchy. Have I already thanked David B. and Chris M? If I did, hey, thanks again. Thanks to all our patrons. That gives us automatically that monthly support that we need to keep going and growing and moving and grooving, as I say. If I can give a lot, you can give a little. I'll get my words all figured out. It's your Media Memes edition of Your Morning Monarchy. Each day of the week, we go into a different area. Monday's World News, Tuesday's Tech, Wednesday's Health, Thursday's Weird, and Friday, the Entertainment Industrial Complex. I know Thursday's the favorite day of a lot of you weirdos, but Friday's probably my favorite day. And there will be a little bit of leftover hexes. We'll get into the witchcraft woo-woo here in just a moment. But a huge thanks to RadioConfluence.com. They simulcast all your Media Monarchy broadcasts, and the Truth Seeker app for carrying your morning monarchy. That gets us up next to all the biggies out there in the alternative media, independent media world. It's a good company to be in. And again, I always ask you, spread the word about Media Monarchy. You dig these shows? You dig the daily DJ sets? Tell a friend. You know they're burnt out on whatever media they've been consuming. Tell them to try something new. Take the Media Monarchy Challenge. So I've mentioned it before, I'll mention it again. The good big news is my wife's coming back Monday after weeks and weeks away. She's been dealing with family health emergencies down in the American Southwest. She will finally be returning Monday, which means I am not going to be on Monday. Probably going to take some time off next week. I can tell you here right now for sure we will take Monday off. Then we'll figure it out as the week goes on. Still probably make a Good News Next Week episode, and of course I'll make a New World Next Week episode. And as I've said right there, those alone might warrant at least $1 a month. MediaMonarchy.com/support. And we will also probably do a Moonlight Monarchy. That's a late night DJ set we've been doing over these last few weekends. Might not do it tonight. We might wait till Saturday night, April 1st night, and we might have a special guest DJ in studio with us. Tag team Moonlight Monarchy action Saturday night. So I got a lot for you right here on Your Morning Monarchy. Again, I'm James Evan Pilato from MediaMonarchy.com. I've been online as Media Monarchy since 9/11/05. I've got about 2 decades of radio experience. I quit my commercial radio job in the summer of 2015 because it wasn't worth it. This, however, is, my friends. We're going to dive into all the entertainment industrial complex news, but let's glance at the breaking lamestream news. Protests begin. Foreign pressure mounts on Venezuela's Maduro. Government accused of staging a self-inflicted coup. SpaceX launches its first recycled rocket in historic leap. Mad Dog Mattis says North Korea has just got to be stopped. And the infrastructure continues to collapse. I-85 collapse. Major north-south artery closed. Atlanta's Interstate 85 as spring break travel kicks off. And the Flynn immunity psyop continues as well. We've talked about a lot of those things on Your New World Next Week, and we talk about a lot of these stories on Your Morning Monarchy. We wrapped up yesterday's episode of Holy Hexes talking about all the strangeness in the District of Columbia. And there seems to be a lot of normalization, if you will, of what we could just sort of easily call pop witchcraft. Now, 5 years ago on the Media Monarchy show, back when it was just the weekly episodes, we talked about the emergence of this new formulated in a laboratory pop star named Lana Del Rey. We gave you the entire rundown. She tried these different personas, tried these different names. Nothing really worked. Finally hit upon Lana Del Rey. Scored a major record deal. We gave you that rundown. Now, what happened in the background is, over the course of the years, I actually became quite a fan of the music. Musically, as a studio creation, I dig the style, I dig the sound. Chanson is the old school French style. It's basically sad, weepy torch songs. I dig that shit. Chamber pop. Love it. So as far as a studio creation, I've actually become kind of a fan of Lana Del Rey. Listen to all of her most recent records. There's a lot of interesting kind of pop culture, kind of Hollywood history, all woven within there. Now I know where it comes from, and I know about it. And as we've often said, the return on investment of music is far greater than that of film. But as times get stranger, you start to notice your pop stars who've never been political before. Well, in these crazy times, they have to say something, right? So on a Moonlight Monarchy last month, we actually premiered, it was only a couple of hours old, Lana Del Rey's brand new song, Love. And the video that accompanies it is all sort of about the space race. And you see it getting a little more spacey, if you will. And then, earlier this week, Lana Del Rey releases an album trailer. The album is going to be called Lust for Life.
In this town, an artist really needs a lot of space when they're trying to create something special. A place to cultivate a world of their own, far away from the real world that's around them. Luckily for me, I live right inside the middle of the H of the Hollywood sign. And this is how I spend most of my nights, perched high above the chaos that swirls within the city of angels below. Now don't get me wrong, I love to dip my toe into the muck and the mires of the city every now and then, especially on Tuesdays. But truthfully, when I'm in the middle of making a record, especially now when the world is in the middle of such a tumultuous period, I find I really need to take the space for myself, far away from real life, to consider what my contribution to the world should be in these dark times. So each morning, I have the luxury of asking myself, what shall I cook up for the kids today? Something with a little spice? Something with a little bitterness but is ultimately sweet? Or shall I take the day off and turn down the fire and just take a moment to send my love to them over the ether? Because sometimes just being pure of heart and having good intentions and letting them be known is the most worthy contribution an artist can make. So, even though these times can feel a little bit crazy, they're not so very different from what other generations have experienced at one time or another before. Amidst all the uncertainty, and as we transition out of one era into another one, there's no place I'd rather be than smack dab in the middle of Hollyweird making this record for you. Because you and the music and this place are my love, my light, my lust for life.
The Magic-themed album trailer makes sense considering that she posted a tweet on February 23rd indicating that she is participating in witchcraft against Donald Trump. She also offers comfort in the trailer, saying even though these times can feel a little bit crazy, they're not so very different from what other generations have experienced at one time or another before. Lust for Life is the new album coming from Lana Del Rey. And as we see the pop witchcraft grow, we see all the hashtag normalize this, normalize that. As Petula Clark said many generations ago, it's a sign of the times, my friends. You are listening to The Morning Monarchy for Friday, March 31st, 2017. I'm James Evan Pilato for MediaMonarchy.com, giving you a look at the entertainment industrial complex. And so much of it is thanks to you. We are not only crowdfunded, but we are also crowdsourced. Friday's hashtag is Media Memes. And, of course, you can always email us, james@MediaMonarchy.com. Nicole always gets us fantastic stories. And I love finding things on openculture.com. And we'll continue to talk about the ladies on this Media Memes edition of Your Morning Monarchy with her buttoned-up style, work with the United Nations, and name like a plucky character in a certain English wizard series, Delia Derbyshire. Might not seem like a likely pioneer of experimental electronic music, but her work in the 60s and 70s indeed made her a forerunner of so much contemporary electronic music that most every current legend in the business, from Aphex Twin to Chemical Brothers to Orbital, call her work quite amazing and timeless, and they credit her in some way or another. If you've never heard of Delia Derbyshire, you can learn about her life and work in the 2010 BBC Radio 4 documentary Sculptress of Sound.
A new Doctor Who serial, The Green Death, begins next Saturday at the same time.
It was hard being a Doctor Who fan in the 1970s. There was no video, no DVD, no endless repeats on cable. But I had my own way of recreating the atmosphere of the programme during the parts of the week that had the audacity not to be Saturday tea time.
The Doctor Who theme is now available on a BBC record from most record shops.
That single had a name on the circular label at the centre, an alliterative name that sounded like the heroine of an Enid Blyton story, Delia Derbyshire, the woman who, in 1963, used feedback and bits of tape to create the authentic sound of travelling through space and time. But there was much more to Delia than that one arrangement. She was a pioneer, a genius, a powerhouse of musical creativity. And I'm here at Manchester University to investigate the woman behind the wobulator.
You can listen to that entire hour-long BBC Radio 4 documentary, Sculptress of Sound, as I think I am probably going to. Theater of the mind, my friends. We're doing your entertainment industrial complex news on your Friday morning monarchy. Yes, I'm aware of the new footage, allegedly from the Pentagon. New photos released. Now, it's interesting, we had the video a couple of weeks before. What was that? So some kind of teased early leak, hyped up release for it? And I also see C-SPAN tweeting right now, Hillary Clinton giving some speeches as well. The news never stops, my friends. Darlene Cates, the morbidly obese mother in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, has died at the age of 69. She will not wake up, Gilbert. Other obituaries we're looking at, we can learn a lot of things, even sometimes in noting the passing. Avo Uvezian, legendary jazz pianist turned, of course, cigar maker, passed away 2 days after his 91st birthday. Uvezian was born in Beirut on 3/22/1926 into a family of musicians. He'd come to the U.S. in 1947 to study at Juilliard in New York. He would continue to study music, but was drafted into the military during the Korean War, though he never served in Korea. Afterwards, he would continue his music as well as jewelry making before entering the world of cigars. He bought a cigar for the birth of his daughter and thought it sucked. It was like, I could make better cigars than this. The interesting extra tie-in, which does not come in the obituary from a cigar website called Half Wheel, as again our friend Booze Leprechaun, a.k.a. Nicole, noted that Avo Uvezian is also regarded by some as the true uncredited composer of the Sinatra classic, but Burt Camford wrote it, Strangers in the Night. In a sad obituary, Boston's former drummer Sib Hashian died after collapsing on stage 2 Wednesdays ago. The musician was on the Legends of Rock cruise in the Western Caribbean to play Boston's greatest hits alongside Barry Goudreau, one of the group's original guitarists. After he suddenly collapsed mid-set, CPR was performed and a defibrillator was used to no avail, and the rock star died right there on stage at the age of 67. R.I.P. Boston's drummer Sib Hashian. Now, I don't know if you guys know, and again, lots of you don't use Twitter, don't use social networks. If you don't, that's fine. I would never admonish you for it. In fact, if you've made it this far and don't have any of those accounts and have never set them up, consider yourself awesome. Twitter, we kind of decided a long time ago, would be our one main social media outlet. It's the one that kind of gives me the most freedom. It lets me organize these shows, which is basically what I'm into it for. Now, they'll give you little ads in the feed. And you may or may not know, here's a pro tip. You can click the little thing that says, I don't like this ad. And it might try and ask you, like, oh, are you offended by it? It's not for you, blah, blah, blah. You don't even have to answer that. Just go, I don't like this ad. I don't like this ad. I don't like this ad. I just did it just sort of as a matter of course. It almost seems like now Twitter doesn't really know what to give me, and I don't get any ads in my feed. So let that be a note. If you just stick with it and keep saying, I don't like this ad, it's pretty much going to break the algorithm and go, well, okay, fine, I don't know what to give you. Not so for our friend Swagger Prance. And of course, tweeting stories to Media Monarchy might mess up your tweet feed. It's not going to know what you're into. But Twitter ads seems to think Swagger Prance needs to see more humans eating humans, so let's continue. Hashtag normalize cannibalism.
From this day forward, no big secrets between the five of us.
What happens when humans learn that there's highly contagious zombies in their midst?
Once they hear that we eat brains...
Get cover!
Is it too late to say that I kind of like being out of the loop on some of this?
iZombie. Season premiere Tuesday, April 4th on the CW.
That's right. That's pretty much all I was going to say. The secret's out. There's another zombie show. And yes, all your clown apocalypse are belong to It marketing. The big new remake of Stephen King's It finally has a big official teaser trailer, and yes, of course, I'm a pop culture junkie. I can ignore something for a little while and then finally go, all right, okay, fine, I'll watch it. I can report back to you, lame. I saw the movie. I saw it as the TV movie. I saw it when I was 13 years old. It came out in 1990. It was a big, long TV movie, and of course, all the kids watched it, and we'd talk about it next day at school. This trailer looks like a carbon copy remake. Why? I don't need it. Just go watch the original. It's got John Boy in it. BBC is reporting on the disturbing YouTube videos that are tricking children. Thousands of videos on YouTube look like versions of popular cartoons, but contain disturbing and inappropriate content not suitable, not safe for life. So even the headline, I think, is kind of a problem. The disturbing YouTube videos that are tricking children. Are they tricking the children, or are they tricking the idiot, lazy parents who plop their kid down in front of something and go, hey, do this, while mommy plays with her smartphone? It's another situation where it's the parents' fault. Please, Hollywood, won't you do a better job of raising my child? Nope, sure won't. This adds to the YouTube woes. And a bunch of crocodile tears. Oh, I can't believe this thing I gave my life over to would screw me over. So it's got lots of screen grabs and videos. Oh, it's supposed to be Peppa Pig, but it's not. Again, it's up to the parents. If you plop your kid down in front of the computer, it's pretty much your fault what they're going to run into. And YouTube is having the battle of all these companies that act like they have some sort of moral standing to go, oh, I can't have my ads running next to unsavory videos. I mean, what would that do to the reputation of AT&T, the company who openly let the NSA spy on everyone decades ago? Room 641A. Thanks, Mark Klein, for telling us about it. Nestle is also pulling ads. Oh, my God. You know, these ads on YouTube videos is really going to damage our reputation of being the ones to completely destroy communities' water. The moral relativism of those companies is kind of astonishing. Oh, no. What will we do, though? After March 24th, With 2 weeks of frustrating contract talks, negotiators for the Writers Guild of America notified the AMPTP, that's the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, that because the talks were stalled, they had no choice but to ask their 12,000 member to give them strike authorization. It was a bold move. As sparklingly glamorous and self-absorbed as Hollywood's entertainment business is when it comes to contract negotiations between the AMPTP and the WGA or the DGA or SAG-AFTRA, Screen Actors Guild, Directors Guild. They're depressingly similar to those between, say, a group of pipe fitters and welders at the International Association of Machinists. The issue is money, plain and simple. Money in the form of money in the form of benefits, money in the form of staking a claim to new technology. Accordingly, as in any contract negotiation, logic, honesty, fairness, and generosity will play no part. It all centers around muscle. Think of being hit with Hunter Thompson's million-pound shit hammer. Hence the threat of a strike as a weapon. This story is from David McCary up on Counterpunch. And again, everything we say and play will always be included in the show notes. You can check out all of these videos, all of these clips, all of these articles. Oh my God. The writers might go on strike? Who's going to do all the shitty remakes? Who's going to reboot The Matrix unnecessarily after a few years? Who's going to remake it? When you look at this story and you look at the original tweets, now it might be a bunch of bloviating. It's nothing but replies saying, who gives a shit? You guys could disappear tomorrow and no one would care. Now again, that might be a lot of hype because somebody buys tickets to these shitty movies. But it might not be those people replying on Twitter to Counterpunch. Undercover FBI agents disguised as documentary filmmakers went to Nevada in 2014 to interview supporters of Cliven Bundy during their armed standoff with the government. So says FBI Special Agent Charles Johnson. Testifying on the government's behalf in its case against two supporters, Johnson told jurors 2 Wednesdays ago how the Bureau used a fake film crew to gather statements during the standoff, as was reported by the Las Vegas Review-Journal. The videos were then played in court during Johnson's testimony, showing jurors the defendant's mindset during the standoff. Scott Drexler, one of Bundy's supporters standing trial, told the bogus filmmakers that he traveled from Idaho to Bunkerville Ranch, wherein he learned about protests being waged against the Bureau of Land Management after its agents tried to seize cattle from Mr. Bundy following a legal land dispute. What I was looking for was just a show of support. It seems as if there were armed people around a situation, then the authorities have to be a little more civil, have to treat you like a person, Drexler said on camera. If nobody's facing any kind of consequence for their actions, they can just do whatever they want. When asked by prosecutors what the protesters' objective was, Drexler replied that it was just a show of force. Eric Parker, the other Bundy supporter on trial who traveled with Drexler to the ranch, made similar comments in the bogus FBI Sting documentary. I want to stand for the Constitution. I don't think you have to be in a militia for that. The goal was peaceful end. The government is expected to call one more witness before resting its case against these two defendants. The situation began in April 2014 when the BLM, Black Lives Matter, Bureau of Land Management, began impounding rancher Cliven Bundy's cattle following government order that Bundy pay $1 million in withheld grazing fees for the use of federal lands near his Nevada ranch. An armed standoff between Bundy and his supporters and the BLM followed, ending with the BLM finally releasing Bundy's cattle. Gee, what a surprise. Feds posing as fake filmmakers. This should be another big reminder of, I think, unfortunately, why there's really no good reason to get involved in any sort of mass movement or mass protest. It's already been grassed. It's already been astroturfed. It's already been faked. Oh, man, those neo-Nazis are going to march. Let's go fuck with them and yell at them. Why don't you not do anything? You're propping them up. You're giving them legitimacy. I've come to that conclusion with pretty much most any massive protest. Now, again, I've often said, the protests you don't hear about are the ones when you're walking down the street and go, damn, hey, what are all those people? Oh, those are specific workers protesting their treatment at some place they work. That's one thing. You go, oh, I guess that place is shitty to work for. But when it's some big, massive movement, I mean, when the Occupy thing happened, all I did was go out and say, why are you here? Why are you here? Why are you here? You're listening to Your Morning Monarchy for the last day of March 2017. It's Friday. I'm James Evan Pilato from MediaMonarchy.com. Fox News Channel legal analyst Andrew Napolitano returned to the air this most recent Wednesday, saying he stood by his claim about spying on Trump that got him benched by the network for more than a week.
Andrew Napolitano's wiretapping allegations seem to have gotten him pulled off the air on Fox News. The Los Angeles Times is reporting that he isn't scheduled for any upcoming appearances on the cable network. He was noticeably absent as a legal analyst for Monday's hearings involving Supreme Court nominee Neil Gorsuch, as well as the one with FBI Director James Comey on the wiretapping. Just last week, Napolitano appeared on Fox and Friends and weighed in on President Trump's allegation that former President Obama had him wiretapped.
3 intelligence sources have informed Fox News that President Obama went outside the chain of command. He used GCHQ. What the heck is GCHQ? That's the initials for the British spying agency.
This claim was then repeated by the White House.
Last on Fox News on March 14th, Judge Andrew Napolitano made the following statement, quote, 3 intelligence sources have informed Fox News that President Obama went outside the chain of command.
But Fox wouldn't back up that claim.
Fox News cannot confirm Judge Napolitano's commentary. Fox News knows of no evidence of any kind that the now President of the United States was surveilled at any time in any way.
Napolitano was a judge from 1987 through 1995 and has been with Fox since 1998. No comment right now from Fox News.
Fox reportedly pulls Napolitano from air after those crazed wiretapping claims. This just in, they spy on everyone, everywhere, all the time. And it's all phony bloviating again. To even try to say that they're not. Now, make no mistake, as was noted in the chat, Napolitano is now part of the reality show that is America's Next Top President. The new trailer for Brad Pitt's Netflix movie War Machine features funny accents and funny hair color. That's pretty much all anybody has to say about the trailer for the new Brad Pitt War Machine movie. We've talked about this on New World Next Week. It's from Michael Hastings. It's from the late, great Michael Hastings' book, The Operators. You know, the guy whose car was hacked, died in a flaming auto accident. They turned his book into a movie for Netflix, and it's the loose story of Stanley McChrystal, who would go down in flames after Hastings wrote a big Rolling Stone piece as well. Now, I know when you think of Stanley McChrystal, the first person that pops in your head, oh, Brad Pitt. Easily, right? Scott Horton notes, this summer, Brad Pitt and J-Sock star in If Only We'd Had 20,000 More Troops, Then It Would Have Been Great, I Bet. Because that was basically the disagreement. There's no disagreement about the fundamental illegality of wars of aggression based on false flags and lies. It's more, oh, no, we need 20,000 more troops, then this war will totally be legit, right? I've hinted a few times as well, I'm anxiously awaiting the appearance of War Machine on Netflix. It comes out, I think, at the end of May. Pretty much comes out Memorial Day weekend. They're going to capitalize on the rah America bullshit. I'm hoping to have something really fun to announce for you when this film comes out. Or I totally might not. We'll have to wait and see. We were talking to our buddy Thomas Sheridan, who we need to talk to again. It was just after the shocking conclusion of America's Next Top President. And he was noting that kind of the sea change that happened in attitudes in a lot of people. I think the long and short of it is, basically leading up to America's Next Top President, you saw a lot of people making a lot of noise, and then as soon as they had to eat crow, they shut up. U2 was all blah, 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 and Bono, of course, the British knight, all about politics. Then after Brexit, then after Trump, they all shut the fuck up. Turn to 2017, what does U2 have to say? Hey, guess what? It's Joshua Tree 30th anniversary. Oh, no politics, you guys? People who ran their mouth a lot have pretty much shut up now. But then you also have another whole crew that's, of course, woken up after 8 years of not doing anything. Miami New Times has an interesting article about something that goes down in their hometown every year. Music's always been a way to escape, and dance music embodies this mission more than any other genre. Following the Disco Sucks movement of '79, marginalized groups, Black, Latino, gay, were once again pushed outside the mainstream. Genres like house and techno were born in the warehouses in which these groups sought refuge. Of course, that early stuff is a far cry from today's whitewashed, male-dominated EDM machine. That stands for electronic dance music. They've tried to rebrand techno many, many times in this country. It hardly ever takes. But sometimes you see glimmers of its rebellious past. Take, for example, in 2015, rising Lithuanian DJ Tin Walls compared gays to pedophiles and called them a different breed, and he got the backlash that his career never really recovered from. Last year's Ultra Music Festival in Miami, big, massive EDM festival, filled with activism, plenty of fuck Trump ethos from performers like the Chainsmokers and Rabbit in the Moon and Homemade Signs. So one might have expected some politics at last week's 19th edition of Ultra. Barely 2 months had passed since Trumpery became 45th top president. And tensions are still running high, despite assurances that he'd work to bring Americans together after one of the blah-blah-blah. It's all divide and conquer. Perhaps because of political fatigue, festival goers stuck to dancing all weekend long, leaving their ideologies at home. Where were the pussy hats and not my president signs? Why was 2017 so drastically different?
It's more of a mainstream music type for people of a younger generation. I mean, for the most part, it's something that's becoming a new culture. It started a while ago, but now it's just something that's hit the fan. Everybody's loving it. It's a fun place to go. Everybody's kind. It's a place where everybody can get together and there's no hate, there's no differences. Race, ethnicity, nothing matters anymore. Everybody's here to have a good time and enjoy themselves.
We're really excited to be in Miami.
Never been.
Yeah, we're from San Diego, by the way, so weather's wonderful and very excited to be here.
Represent San Diego. That's a proud moment for you. Of course, presidential elections tend to galvanize a lot of voters who otherwise cast ballots only to choose a new winner of The Voice. Although Ultra 2016 happened a couple of weeks after Trump swept Super Tuesday, he was still a national punchline, with the media believing Hillary would win the November election handily, so perhaps it was easier last year to tell Trump to fuck off. Activism is alive at other events. Recent Okeechobee Festival had a whole section dedicated to social action. Ultra has the Eco Village. And there are a few cases of overt political expression at Ultra this year. Make America Rave Again. And a man with I like this part. This is good. A young man who cut a Trump 2016 Make America Great Again t-shirt into a muscle tee made his way through the crowd gathered at the main stage during Tachami's set. And a man with a taxation is theft tank was spotted crossing Biscayne Boulevard, a road that's maintained by the Florida Department of Transportation through tax dollars. But make no mistake, Ultra 2017 was apolitical. That was obvious the first day when two men made their way through the crowd. One was wrapped in an LGBT rainbow flag and the other in a tank top emblazoned with the mug of Trump sporting a hot pink Make America Great Again cap. The tank's background had the words 1-800-MAKE-AMERICA-GREAT-AGAIN repeating in a pattern across the fabric similar to Drake's visuals for 1-800-HOTLINE Bling that became a thing last summer. The whole ensemble seemed to be dripping in vaporwave irony that jabbed at Trump. But when someone blurted out, "We still have Obamacare, high five," the two men just smiled awkwardly and rolled their eyes. Ultra Music Festival 2017 was strangely apolitical. You're listening to Your Morning Monarchy. It's the Media Memes edition where we talk about the entertainment industrial complex. As long as we're talking about some fests. Glenn Danzig's Blackest of the Black tour transforms into an entire 2-day music festival featuring little bands like Ministry, Suicidal Tendencies, Atreyu. My tweet about this actually got a retweet and a like from Suicidal Tendencies, which is pretty rad. Jeff Buckley's handwritten journals to feature in His Own Voice book. As they continue to wring the last little bit of content out of the late, great Jeff Buckley. So I guess they're also going to make a book now that will have reproductions of his actual handwriting. Really interesting article a listener sent me up on medium.com asking the musical question, how has streaming affected our identities as music collectors? This may be written for the nerds who collect music, such as yours truly. And it's a question we've talked about before. As everything has switched over to streaming, I knew I was never going to put all of my eggs in the iTunes or Spotify baskets. Sure, those things seem monolithic and permanent right now. It's what we thought about Blockbuster Video. It's what we thought about Sears. We put all our virtual eggs in that virtual basket. Then the next thing you hear is, oh, actually, Unilever is going to buy Spotify, and they're going to replace it all, and it's just going to have GMO recipes. Or God knows what. We've given up a lot of things. We reported for you very recently. Sales of ebooks have plunged. You know why? People want to hold a physical, tangible, authentic thing in their hands. As everything becomes more fake and as everything becomes more of a Baudrillard copy of a copy of a copy, we want something real. I love having records behind me that I've had almost all my life. And I know something about every single one of them. You could pull out a random record on my shelf, and I can tell you about the music, and I can tell you where I got it. Tell you stories about it. It's that physical thing that we want. So yes, I have a Spotify account. I dig it. It's pretty much what I listen to when I'm in the kitchen anymore. All the new music that we play on Your Morning Monarchy, you know how we end every episode with a brand new song of the day, and then we do a daily DJ set at noon, those always contain some little bit of brand new music. We put all that brand new music over on a Spotify playlist. Join us over there. I think it's an awesome playlist. The new spring one just got going. It's already got 50 tracks on it. All brand spanking new music. Does that mean I'm going to stop buying records? Stop being a crate digger? Absolutely not. It's just a nice taster way. It's a nice sampler. To abuse and reuse a word. So we've got some more audio analysis coming up in just a minute. But as long as we're talking about music, it is New Music Friday. Global release day now. March 31st. New records coming out today for Mastodon, who we played for you on yesterday's Pump Up the Volume. New music from Soulwax. And other bands that we've also played for you very recently, like Monster Movie, Friends of Slowdive. The Buttertones, their new record, Gravediggers, comes out today. We've played 3 singles off of that for you. Electronic music from Geotic and the return of Ice-T's Body Count. We played their latest song for you, Black Hoodie, on your Pump Up the Volume. You get an hour of news in the morning, an hour of music in the afternoon. So before we dive into some cleanup on our latest audio analyses, it does go full circle again. Talking about musicians, talking about artists, talking about politics.
As one journalist once said to me, is he the political sex pistol? The left-wing media in America are trying to smear the bloke as a racist, and that's completely not true. There's many problems with him as a human being, but he's not that because he terrifies politicians. I mean, you live... And this is joy to behold.
So there you have it. That's the one and only John Lydon. He was on with recent birthday boy Piers Morgan. Of course, like everyone else, talking about America's next top president. And he can point out, it's like, oh, the guy's obviously not a racist. Would Don King or Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton or all those dudes over the decades hang out with him, give him awards? Probably not. He might be a lot of horrific, problematic things, as Rotten just pointed out. You are listening to Your Morning Monarchy for Friday, March 31st, 2017. I'm James Evan Pilato from MediaMonarchy.com. What we've been doing throughout 2017 so far is adding in new benchmarks, they call them, in the radio biz. It's basically recurring segments. You know, like the third Wednesday of the month, we have the Mary Jane Report. But the easiest for me was to plug in the Fridays. Media Memes Days. So on those days... First Friday of the month, we do Magazine Time. Second Friday, we do Deep Focus. That's a look at film and television, a.k.a. navigating Netflix. Third Fridays of the month, we do Book Smarts, looking at the latest books and reviews. And the fourth Friday, we've been doing album analysis. Now, I never plugged anything in for the fifth Friday. I didn't think there'd be many fifth Fridays of the month, but here we are. Fifth Friday of March. So what I want to do is a little bit of cleanup on some of our recent Friday segments. Last week, we talked about the pleasure and privilege of the Rothschilds musical. It was a great find. And it was hidden right there out in the public. I found this record that I had never heard of, never seen, had to order it online. Then what do I discover when I start to research it more? Oh, here's the entire thing from Sony Classical Now up on YouTube. Oh, here's the entire album up on Spotify. The creators of Fiddler on the Roof followed it up with The Rothschilds, a musical. Now, we've posted up our analysis over on YouTube. You can go get the 15-minute breakdown. I read you the entire liner notes of the hagiography of the creators of Fiddler on the Roof and the Rothschilds musical. The original musical from 1970 starred, as I already noted, West Virginia-born Chris Sarandon, but it also stars as Mayor Rothschild, the patriarch of the family. It starred a guy named Hal Linden, whose name initially wasn't ringing a bell. Then I thought about it more, and then I looked at his face, and I was like, oh, wait, that's Barney Miller. So obviously, Hal Linden knows a little bit about the covert, overt workings of the world, and wouldn't it be interesting that just 10 years later, on Hal Linden's famous show, Barney Miller, a young Jeffrey Tambor would come on to talk about the Trilateral Commission, David Rockefeller, and the New World Order.
They're the ones you should be arresting, not me.
Why don't you say that before? What do we got here? Cam, this is William Klein. He was wrecking an office.
But I just wanted to meet them face to face. I wanted them to admit what they were doing.
Who is they? He was in the office of the Trilateral Commission.
Trilateral Commission?
Yeah, the Trilateral Commission.
All right, what is the Trilateral Commission?
It's an organization founded in 1973 by David Rockefeller to bring together business and political leaders from the United States, Europe, Japan, so they could work together for better economic and political cooperation between their nations.
Well, that's what they'd like us to believe. But you see, what they're really up to is a scheme to plant their own loyal members in positions of power in this country, to work to erase national boundaries and create an international community, and in time bring about a one-world government with David Rockefeller calling the shots.
I take it they're pressing charges?
Yeah, well, he broke a globe and some UNICEF artwork. Well, they're in on it, too.
Okay, Mr. Klein, if you just...
I'm telling you, our whole way of life as we know it is in jeopardy.
I appreciate that information.
But I have the documented evidence. It's all in there. Show him.
Well, he's got these magazines here.
Conspiracy Review? Suppressed Truth Roundup?
The whole master plan is exposed.
Yeah, well,
You're still not convinced, huh? Would you like to hear the names of just a few of the people who have been on the Trilateral Commission?
Not particularly.
James Earl Carter. Heard of him?
Look, Mr. Klein...
Henry Kissinger. You heard of him? Walter Mondale.
Who?
Mr. Klein, this is
John Anderson, George Bush. Now, you remember at the convention, everybody thought it was going to be Ford for Veep. You know what happened? David Rockefeller just picked up a phone, put in a call. Hey, Ronnie, forget Jerry, it's George. Bye. So, no matter who won in November, they had their man in the White House.
Are you through?
Yeah. He's through dropping truth bombs on Barney Miller in 1981. That's Jeffrey Tambor, who, of course, would go on to be in the original Max Headroom show. He would be in Arrested Development, and he is, of course, the present-day transparent, dropping truth bombs many decades ago on Barney Miller, starring Hal Linden, star of the Rothschilds musical. It's a little bit of the follow-up I wanted to give you on the Rothschilds musical, The Pleasure and Privilege, one of our recent album analysis. Another one we looked at back in February was an album from a band called His Name Is Alive. Their album Patterns of Light was essentially not only inspired but almost commissioned by CERN, the Large Hadron Collider. And we played a lot of the music, and we asked the question, why do scientists want space rock bands to create ritualistic music for the Large Hadron Collider? Fortunately, our friend Ann did a little bit of extra research. Because the biggest question was the doctor, James Beecham. He seems to be the guy asking these bands to come play, asking His Name Is Alive to play, asking Spiritualized to come play. The place where Dr. Beecham works was in the Atlas experiment. Atlas, the titan whose punishment, according to Greek mythology, is to hold up the sky, particularly the celestial orbs, stars, for all time. The bronze sculpture outside the Rockefeller Center is Atlas, holding a sphere, an astronomical instrument, armillary sphere. And you can dive into all the sinks and all the connections of Atlas, Atlantic Ocean, the Sea of Atlas. Atlantis is the island of Atlas. There's also a king and astronomer called Atlas. In 2015, it was Dr. James Beecham who asked the band Deerhoof to play experimental music at the LHC. He said, quote, "On a personal level, Deerhoof inspired me as much as Einstein," end quote. His project at that time was, and possibly still is, X-Noise CERN, and there is a YouTube video called X-Noise CERN, Deerhoof versus the Large Hadron Collider, and Dr. James Beecham introduces it.
13 trillion electron volts. That's the energy at which the Large Hadron Collider smashes together protons, new this year, 2015. Right now, 100 meters below us, superconducting magnets just like these are doing the heavy lifting required to get these proton beams to bend around the 27-kilometer tunnel and allow them to get up to almost the speed of light and to 13 TeV, which is the highest energy that humans have ever used in a collider experiment. So what are we looking for? Things like dark matter, dark energy, supersymmetry, quantum black holes, large extra dimensions. But really, we're just pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. We don't know what we're going to find at 13 TeV at the LHC. This is Satomi from Deerhoof, and I don't know what she's going to do.
That's what they're going to do. Experimental band Deerhoof played right in the Large Hadron Collider. And you can watch the entire 15-plus minute video of them making that racket right there.
Merci beaucoup, CERN.
Sure thing. De nada. The thing I discovered by finally laying eyes on Dr. James Beecham kind of answered my question. Why would this doctor want space rock bands to play? Oh, because he's a totally young, hipster-looking doctor. You can find TED Talk after TED Talk that Dr. James Beecham has given. I suppose in some ways it makes a little more sense. It would have been stranger to me, I suppose, if it was just some crotchety guy. Why does this old guy know about Spiritualized? He's not an old guy. He's a young guy. He looks pretty much my age. So you can watch all of those clips and so much more that we've put together for you there as part of your Media Memes Morning Monarchy for March 31st. That's all in the show notes, my friend. We've got brand new music from our favorite dance punk band called Chick Chick Chick. You might know them as 3 exclamation points. They've got a new record coming very soon, and we will go out with their brand new song, The 1-2, at the end of this episode. But first, as always, this day in history. March 31st, 1913, the Vienna Concert Society rioted during a performance of modernist music by Arnold Schoenberg. Causing a premature end to the concert due to violence, this concert became known as the Scandal Concert. Should be a fantastic band name. March 31st, 1918, daylight savings goes into effect in the United States for the first time. And on March 31st, 1930, the Motion Picture Code is instituted. The Motion Picture Production Code, imposing strict guidelines on the treatment of sex, crime, religion, and violence in film in the U.S., is instituted for the next 38 years.
The phenomenal success of King of Kings proved to the church how powerful movies were as a new method of spreading the Gospels. But many religious figures were unhappy with the power and influence that this unholy industry now exerted, and Hollywood was terrified that intervention by the church would lead to censorship. In an attempt to pacify them, Hollywood hired a former postmaster general called Will Hayes to act as head of their self-regulatory board. The regulations he introduced in 1930 became known as the Hays Code.
The code sets up high standards of performance for motion picture producers. It states the considerations which good taste and community value make necessary in this universal form of entertainment. Respect for law, respect for every religion, respect for every race, and respect for every nation.
As noted in the chat, using pop culture to instill moral values has greatly affected the youths of 20th century America. The Hays Code, put in on this date, March 31st, 1930. Continuing to look at past is prologue, March 31st, 1951, Remington Rand delivers the first UNIVAC 1 computer to the United States Census Bureau. And on this day in 1958, Chuck Berry's Johnny Be Good was released. March 31st, 1964, a coup d'etat in Brazil establishes a military government under the aegis of General Castillo Branco. And on March 31st, 1969, Led Zeppelin's debut album was released in the UK. March 31st, 1970, Explorer 1 re-enters the Earth's atmosphere after 12 years in orbit. And on this day in 1976, Led Zeppelin's album Presence was released. Oh, yeah, brother. March 31st, 1985, the very first WrestleMania, the biggest wrestling event from the WWE, then, of course, the WWF, took place in Madison Square Garden in New York City, and I do believe, according to at least my hashtag 33 on my tweets, WrestleMania 33 this weekend, brother. I'll be glad when that's done, and that will stop showing up in my 33 tweets. March 31st, 1990. Approximately 200,000 protesters take to the streets of London to protest against the newly introduced poll tax. And on March 31st, 1995, a former Led Zeppelin fan was arrested for trying to stab Jimmy Page at a Page and Plant concert. 1997, the first episode of Teletubbies aired on the BBC. 1998, Netscape releases the Mozilla source code under an open source license. And yes, on this day, March 31st, 1999, a little film called The Matrix was released. I didn't have any post to MediaMonarchy.com on March 31st, 2007, because it was a Saturday. However, I did have the April 1st posting, and I'll go ahead and tell you what some of those are right now. Of course, Media Monarchy's been online since 9/11/05, 11,000 plus articles, interviews, episodes, and so much more posted to MediaMonarchy.com 10 years ago this weekend. Terror database has quadrupled in 4 years. UK children to be mass fingerprinted, and Bono becomes Knight of the British Empire. Those were posted to Media Monarchy on April 1st, 2007. Celebrating birthdays today, some interesting ones for March 31st. Mathematician, philosopher René Descartes, born on this day. Vibes and composer Red Norvo, born on this day. Cesar Chavez, Lefty Frizzell. We're going to hear from him at the top of your Pump Up the Volume, vinyl style, and then it's going to be an all-new Music Friday episode of Pump Up the Volume. The late, great Gordie Howe's birthday. Liz Claiborne, Richard Chamberlain, Shirley Jones. The Partridge Family. It's also Herb Alpert's birthday. Arthur B. Rubinstein, kind of B-movie composer. Barney Frank, Patrick Leahy, Michael Savage, Christopher Walken, Gabe Kaplan, Al Gore, Rhea Perlman, Angus Young from AC/DC, Stephen T. Siegel, one of my favorite comic writers. He wrote Sandman Mystery Theater. It's also Ewan McGregor's birthday. Placebo bass player Stefan Olsdahl, and Garfunkel and Oates singer, songwriter, guitarist, actress, comedian Kate Micucci. All those folks celebrating birthdays today on March 31st. Like I said, Lefty Frizzell's the only one that's going to make it into your daily DJ set at noon, which comes up about 2 hours live right after your morning monarchy. An hour of news in the morning, an hour of music in the afternoon. Let me remind you again, we will be taking Monday off as finally my wife returns. And we can only keep doing this with your support, my friends. We're going out with brand new music from Chick, Chick, Chick. That's 3 exclamation parts. The 1-2 from their upcoming record, Shake the Shutter, coming out in May. I appreciate you guys being here so very much and taking the time to hang out with us. This has been your final Morning Monarchy for March. It's Friday, your Media Memes edition for March 31st, 2017. I am James Evan Pilato from MediaMonarchy.com. Thanking you so much for listening, my friends, and reminding you, as always, like Jello Biafra said, don't hate the media, become the media. Take care.
You're listening to Media Monarchy with James Evan Pilato. Since 2005, Media Monarchy has covered the real news about politics, health, technology, and the occult, all remixed with music and media that matters. Go to MediaMonarchy.com/support and become a monthly subscriber so you can help keep independent, non-commercial, alternative media going and growing. Thanks.